Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice.
All
All right. So a military officer walks up to a soldier and he says, "Do you have change for $1?" And the soldier says, what does the soldier say? So I was overcome by all the love in this room right now. The soldier says, "Sure, buddy, no problem." And the officer says, "Wait a minute, is that any way to talk to an officer? Let's try that again, son. Do you have change for $1?" "No, sir." So regardless of our titles and our roles, it matters how we talk to each other, right? So tonight, I said identity, but tonight is really about, it's always identity involved, but it's about change and how we treat each other. So there's going to be a lot about change tonight. So how many of you have ever changed your mind?
Only
Yeah,
twice.
pretty much everybody?
Twice.
Good. All right, so how many of you have changed your mind in such a way that you noticed that that change of mind changed your life? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So maybe there was something that you noticed that was not working. So, well, this isn't really working, and let me try something new or think of something that could work better. So you try something new. For example, you noticed that you were complaining a lot, so instead you started meditating, and there was an outcome from that, and you felt happier. Or you noticed you were eating a lot of cookies and you didn't feel real good, so you started eating vegetables and you started feeling better. Or you noticed that you ignore your spouse a lot, so you started listening and you noticed that your relationship improved. So I would like to hear from any of you in that order. You went from this, since I know, this is a half an hour talk, right? Oh, and I see there's a clock there. So is this 7:45 right now? And then, so do I talk till 8:15? Is that what?
Sure.
Is that, yes? Okay, good. I want to make sure that
Make it 20 after 8.
Oh, well, thank you. Wow. I feel honored. I get an extra 5 minutes. Woo! Okay, so if you could share, just briefly, the thing you noticed, like I was doing this, and I changed my thought or my action to this, and the outcome was this. Could someone think of something like that? Helen? I see you got
The
it.
big one?
Sure.
Well, this marriage isn't working for me, so I'm going to change. I'm going to get out of it, reshape my life.
Wonderful. And so
And
is
I did.
that's some, and you did.
Yeah.
And then what's something that came from that choice and decision?
I am now married to a wonderful man. And
Awesome.
perfect fit.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, that's really a big one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Does somebody else have a before, after, and outcome? Anybody? Is that you don't have one or you don't want to share it?
I think,
Alright.
there's so many changes
Yes.
that I think about,
Yes.
I don't know which one I would
Which
talk
one would you
about.
choose? Sure.
Yeah, I have friends here, friends there, back in C.C.O. College, and you're going to have a reunion, the whole thing, and I think I change every other day, I guess, I don't know.
Wow. Wonderful.
But,
So a
things
lot of
happening.
change.
A lot of things happening, so.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with some of the things you shared and the things you're doing, these big projects and going places,
Right,
so
yeah.
you're creating, it seems all the time, something new.
Different
Wonderful.
things going, yeah.
Wonderful. Somebody else? Yes.
Yeah, when I go through a design process, because I'm an architect, I always think of so many angles, and then I always think maybe this one is better than my original thought.
Ah.
So after I go around trying the other aspects, in the end, I think my original thought is still the best.
Really? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's good. I always tell people, unless you try something new, you don't know what the new thing is, but you can always go back.
Yeah.
You can always go back. That's why there's no risk, really, in thinking a new thought. Try something on. If it doesn't work for you, you still have the other thing as your backup. That's great. Thank you. Okay. So does anybody know someone who thinks often the thought, I can't do this myself, and they'll try to get someone else to do it for them.
Yeah, really, a lot of those people.
Okay, so even though they may be capable themselves, they think they can't, so they're trying to get other people to do their life basically for them. Okay, so we kind of all know some people like that. Maybe ourselves sometimes. What about, do you know someone, or maybe yourself, who is always doing for other people? Even though they might be able to do it for themselves, you find yourself or seeing other people who are taking care of other people's lives for them, being the rescuer, stepping in and saving people from themselves. Yes? See Jose shaking your head. Yes? Okay. All right. Now, what about someone who either you see that person as a bad person, or someone is pointing out you as a bad person, or there's a thought somewhere. Have you seen people like pointing to someone or making themselves a bad person, like the person who's causing the problems or the trouble? Or are you familiar with that kind of either pointing at or like this? Okay. Or being pointed to, something like that. Okay.
Or both.
So how many, both. Yeah, and it changes. And it switches and goes back and forth. So how many of you are aware of someone that you feel it would be nice to change something about them in order to have less drama? Yes? Okay, very good. All right. Okay, well, I have been studying what humans do, how they do it, why they do it, and especially in the sense of how we treat each other. Looking at how I can facilitate people moving from dysfunctional ways of being into functional, satisfying relationships with between ourselves and ourselves, between ourselves and others. So this is what I've been looking at for 36 years. So I have a lot of stuff to share. The ways that I share mostly are through perspectives, new thoughts, frameworks, identity, and games and role plays. So people can actually have an experience where they're so caught up in the game that they forget what they're being and how they're being and how they show up all the time, and then they have a chance to look at it and go, oh, is this what I want to continue to do? To notice something and possibly make a different decision. So I could spend a week with you going over a lot of different stuff so it all comes together. But tonight I'm just going to share one framework with you. So it's not the truth. It's not to be used in all situations. It's just one little piece of a large body of work. And so because you'll be looking at it just from this out of context with all these other things that I've studied for this 36 years, you might have some questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop about 10 minutes early so we can actually just talk, and what comes up for you can ask about. So a framework is some type of a mental or physical construct that you can step outside of your life and then put aspects of your life into that structure. So you can look at your life from a different perspective and maybe make some new choices from seeing it from a new perspective. All right? So that's what I'm going to do tonight. So the website is currently updating, so if you go to the website, it's not going to come up for you right now. That's why I put my phone number here in case anybody would like to contact me. I'm going to be doing classes Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30. There's an hour-and-a-half class. And then the first Saturday of each month, I'm going to do a 3-hour from 9 to 12 in Newark by the New Park Mall. If anybody would like to join, you're absolutely welcome. There's a piece of paper there if you want to put your contact number and want me to send you, what's going on if you're interested. All righty. So, all right. So the 3 people that I mentioned, the person, I'm just going to say it in a new way. The victim is the one who things are always going wrong and needs someone, feels the need to be rescued. The rescuer is the one who's doing the rescuing, doing the work in the victim's life for them. Not someone who's just helping out, but actually saving them, maybe even from themselves sometimes. And then the perpetrator is the one who the people are pointing at and saying, you're the bad guy, you're the wrong guy. And these roles can change. This is called the dreaded drama triangle. It was created by someone named Stephen Cartman in the 60s. And he noticed that there's this common theme. You see it in movies where there's the Superman and the villain and I will rescue you, and even in the cartoons and the victim, help me, So this happens over and over and over. We can see it in our lives. It causes a lot of drama. Because a lot of times what will happen is somebody will say, save me, save me, save me, I can't do it myself. And someone will say, I will save you, I will do it for you. You just sit your pretty little self down there and let me do all the work. All right, so then they do it and do it and do it, and then this person says, if you wouldn't have rescued me so much, I could have done it myself and I wouldn't be so weak today. So it's a cycle that digs a deeper hole. It's not something that fills, because this person becomes weaker as this person does their work for them. And then what happens is this person ends up, instead of thinking of this person as a rescuer, they start to think of them as their persecutor or their perpetrator. And they start to blame this person for their life. And then this person says, well, you're the problem, now you're the bad guy. So we don't hold on to these roles, we switch them around and we throw them at each other, and everybody's trying to either play this role or this role. But these roles don't really work because none of them are whole people. And nobody is a label. We know we have all these qualities inside us, and none of these can stick for any length of time. But sometimes we tend to play them for a long time in our lives. So I don't know. I probably shouldn't stick on this. Is it okay? All right. Well, good. That'll make it easy.
Right.
Okay. So the antidote to the dreaded drama triangle, all this you, save me, I'll survive, all that, is there was another book. So this one was from the 1960s. This book was written, actually not this book, but another book by David Emerald. Is called The Empowerment Dynamic. And the empowerment dynamic was written as an antidote to the dreaded drama triangle. It was written in 2015, so quite a while after this book was written by David Emerald. Now in David Emerald's book, The Empowerment Dynamic, he created a triangle where he said creator, coach, and challenger. Okay, I changed this myself, but I'm telling you this because if you're interested in this, it's a good book to read to understand these dynamics more. Okay, I didn't write a book on this, but I did change it. So I'm sharing with you the way I changed it because I feel this is actually even more empowering than what he said. Okay, so I'm just going to go straight to this. It's his dynamic plus. So he did say creator. So what I love about this is, instead of seeing people as victims, or instead of seeing ourselves as victims, we can take this role and replace it with the creator role. So for myself, I can say, well, I'm a creator. What can I create? Like these programs that you're creating. Just new things. You're creating new things. You're making it happen. You're being the creator of your life. Then, when other people, especially someone who you've helped for a while, and they've come back and you realize they're not growing because they're not going through the process they need to turn the coal into the diamond, or that resistance they need to overcome and to find those mental processes to take themselves where they need to go. So you realize at some point, wait a minute, the reason you are where you are is because you created a situation. With the processes you're using now, this situation is an effect of the thoughts you're thinking that put you into the victim role. So I see that you're not really a victim, you're actually a creator. This is not about blame, it's about empowerment. Because everything I do, I'll put some principles in there. That's why I said it's all in context of a much bigger picture. But one of the principles for me is that we're all whole, we're all resourceful, and we all have our own answers inside us. So when we take on a role that says, I have your answers for you, it's belittling the acknowledgement that we are all powerful people. So to let someone know you're a creator, not in a blaming way, but I'll show you how this works, in a championing way. I believe in you. I know you can do it. Maybe you're, starting behind other people and you've got a long way to go, but you're whole, you're resourceful, and you have your answers. I don't have your answers for you. But the champion, so championing a cause, I know from the Rotary you're all familiar with championing a cause. There's 3 parts to the champion. So there's the cheerleader, of course. I know you can do it. Way to go. Great job. So each of these roles is not just about another person. It's also the relationship that I have between me and me. If I'm in a tough situation, I'll say, Tia, you can do it. You've done it before. Or you've created something before. Or you've grown before. You can do this. I know this. I believe in you. I trust you. Right? So I can speak to myself that way, the same way I can speak to someone else, knowing the truth of them is not the situation that they're in now. The truth of them is bigger. It's the same truth that we all have, that we're all whole and resourceful, can use our minds to create a way to get where we want to go. So the cheerleader is that, woo, you can do it. But then the second part is a coach, which is what's in David Emerald's book. The great thing about what the coach does is the coach is the mind. It's the solution, the thinker. It's what comes up with the answers. This is why we all have our own answers. Because 2 people going to the same place, if they ask, if you ask a question that's like something like, how come I'm unable to do this? Your mind's going to come up with an answer. It's going to say, because you're stupid, or you grew up in the wrong neighborhood, or your parents were this, blah, 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 blah. But if you ask an empowering question, like, how can I do this and have fun at the same time? Well, then you'll come up with an answer for yourself. So 2 people going to the same place. One says, I can do this on a bicycle because I love bicycling. And the other person says, I can do this on a bus because I love kicking back and reading something while someone else drives. Right? So it's 2 people, but they each find their own answer. And they each use their own mind to find it. So they're coaching themselves. Mm-hmm. And you can also coach someone. So a coach, unlike the rescuer is going to do it for someone. They don't even have to be involved. A coach is going to say, I know you can. How can you? Coach asks empowering questions, whether to yourself or to the other person. So a coach will say, how do you want to do that? What's exciting about that for you? Can you picture yourself achieving it? What did you do to get there? These are all empowering questions, but the coach doesn't say, okay, now that you came up with the answer, I'll go do it for you. They say, yeah, you do that now. I know you can. Right? So this person is doing their own thing, but the coach is supporting in a positive way, believing in their power, and asking the questions that facilitates them coming up with their own answers, not saying, try this, try this, try this. Because as long as you're saying, try this, try this, try this person remains weak, and they're not coming up with their own empowering answers. And if you don't come up with the answer on your own, you're not going to be excited about it. Somebody might possibly hit something that you go, yeah, I guess that could be, I could try that. But if you find it yourself, you're like, this, oh yeah, and this. Because it's your own answer coming from your own life, your own experience, and what would be exciting for you. So another thing a coach does is follows the spark and excitement in someone else. Notices what someone's excited about. Instead of saying, no, 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 that's stupid. You should do it my way. They notice when someone's excited about, oh, I see you're excited about that. Yeah, try that. Come back and talk to me after you've worked on it from that perspective. And then that person feels excited. And it doesn't take anything to take that action because it's a magnetic pull to do something because it came from inside of them. They generated it themselves. And then they're the player. So the champion doesn't jump in the game for the other person. They let the other person stay in their own game. And they stay on the sideline, but while championing and asking those empowering questions. Okay,